When you picture Germany, do you see a fairy tale town? Timbered houses, steep red roofs, church spires piercing the sky like arrows through time, all resting in peace on cobbled squares. But then, cut. Reality hits like a punch of concrete. Frankfurt, Essen, Stuttgart. Not quaint, not charming. Some districts look, as one American tourist put it, like training grounds for robots. Nameless buildings, ashen gray, boulevards that stretch wide, yet feel eerily cold. Why? War, modernism, or something deeper? A deliberate erasure of memory. To build something new, something even the locals never fully chose? Could it be that Germany's modern architecture is hiding a collective memory no one dares to face? And why, amid the splendor of Europe, do parts of Germany feel almost soulless? Few plazas, fewer parks, nowhere to pause, to breathe. The answer might surprise you. Let's uncover what lies behind these walls of concrete right now. And if you're ready for more, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the next mystery is never far away. There was a time when Germans believed that beauty could heal a broken society. But less than a century later, that dream had collapsed into soulless blocks, stretching across Berlin and Stuttgart. Why? Before World War I, German cities looked like living museums, red rooftops, carved windows, facades sculpted like fairy tales. But urban historians say that beauty was just a mask, a disguise for the industrial outskirts, cloaked in soot and poverty. Then, war swept it all away. In 1919, amid the ruins, a young architect named Walter Gropius asked, if the past has fallen, why not build a world entirely new? And so, Bauhaus was born. No ornament, no columns, no nostalgia, only glass, steel, concrete, and shapes so clean they bordered on emotionless. The Am-Horn House. It looked like an oversized Lego block. No roof tiles, no balconies. One critic even said it resembled a public restroom. But to those who survived the inferno of war, Bauhaus was a declaration. We're not going back. Not everyone agreed. Hitler despised Bauhaus. He demanded architecture be grand, obedient, like Rome. In 1933, Bauhaus was dismantled. Gropius and Mies van der Rohe were forced to flee, taking their unfinished dream with them. But fate had one more twist. As bombs fell on Munich, Hamburg, Hanover, it wasn't just buildings that crumbled. Entire urban memories were erased. By 1945, more than 3.6 million homes were destroyed. In Berlin, 70% of housing was rendered uninhabitable. One American journalist called it a symphony of desolation and despair. And then, Bauhaus returned. This time not as art, but as a tool. In the 1950s, Germany faced a housing crisis. 5.5 million homes needed. Fast. Cities like Hanover were redesigned from scratch. Straight roads, flat roofs, no facades, no porches, places you lived in but never belonged to. The houses stood, but the soul did not. Still, the original dream wasn't entirely lost. In 1960, East Berlin launched a new vision, a satellite city of light, inspired by the true Bauhaus spirit. 5-story homes, parks wrapped around them, no fences, no class divide. Gropius called it a place where humans could breathe and not feel imprisoned. For a moment he was right, but then the population swelled. 5 stories became 10, then towers 100 feet high. The parks shrank, gardens vanished, shared spaces turned cold. From a communal dream to vertical isolation. And cities found themselves at a crossroads. Return to identity or march toward convenience? Reconstruction wasn't just about rebuilding walls. It was a silent war between memory and modernity. Those early sustainable neighborhoods, low-rise, green, affordable, slowly morphed into towering slabs of gray sameness. By 1975, over 70% of East Berlin's high-rise residents were poor, working class. What was once a shared dream became a symbol of division and amnesia. You might call it rebuilding. I see it as raising a shell and leaving the soul behind in the rubble. And then, another truth began to emerge. Urban planning had stopped prioritizing people. From the 1960s to the 1980s, German cities were redesigned for one goal: speed, for cars. They built highways over 100 feet wide, colossal interchanges and parking lots sprawling across hundreds of thousands of square feet. And pedestrians? They were pushed underground, forced to walk 300-foot tunnels, dimly lit, where, as one resident of Essen said, you just want to get through and never come back. In Berlin, nearly 15% of urban space was handed to cars, an enormous figure for a city once famous for its subway network. So why did a city built around public transit turn its back on the very thing that made it livable? But not everyone complied. In Amsterdam, citizens began resisting cars as early as the 1970s. Barcelona tested superblocks, fusing neighborhoods into zones with fewer cars, more shared spaces. The idea spread to Cologne, Berlin, and beyond. In Berlin, car-free streets were trialed with wooden benches, green trees, protected bike lanes. After 3 years, the results were clear: more walkers, fewer crashes, cleaner air. Then, a conservative mayor took over, and the program was shelved, back to square one. Between speed and life, between progress and humanity, what are we really choosing? Even when solutions exist, one invisible wall remains: bureaucracy. In Germany, architecture doesn't begin with vision. It begins with law. Some 3,700 building codes govern the nation, from stair angles to window spacing to the square footage required for parking lots. And every state has its own set of rules. The result? If you want to build fast, you must build simple. If you want to follow the law, you must build the same. And so, building after building rises, indistinguishable from the last. No identity, no emotion. And into this void, a new material takes over: glass. Glass facades, bright, green, energy-saving, hailed as icons of modernity. But they leave entire districts in Berlin dubbed cold galleries. You see everything, yet feel nothing. Glass bounces light onto the streets, creating glare, heat, and making walking, already rare, even more uncomfortable. Some experts say glass doesn't connect. It isolates, wrapped in the illusion of elegance. And I wonder, if you stood before a glass tower and an old stone cafe, which one would you walk into? But then someone might say, we can't live forever in memory. After the war, the priority was simple: housing, fast, sufficient, cheap. People didn't ask for beauty. They needed shelter, a roof against the rain, a place to survive the winter. And in many ways, they got it. Today, modern buildings in Germany are far more energy efficient than those of a century ago. A critical advantage in an age of climate change. But the question lingers: can we have both efficiency and beauty, or must we choose? Perhaps there is no universal answer. But one thing is clear: urban planning should not begin with numbers. It should begin with how it feels to live. And that's where a familiar yet distant idea resurfaces: a city designed for people. We've traveled from red medieval rooftops to glass towers towering over 100 feet high. We've watched Bauhaus, once a radical outsider, become the foundation for millions of post-war homes. We've seen a dream of green, human-centered cities twist into 30-story blocks of isolation. And above all, we've seen cities rebuilt for cars, not people. What do you think? Can we modernize and without losing the soul of a city? Or is sacrifice inevitable? If you've ever stood in a place surrounded by thousands, yet felt completely alone, share your story in the comments below. And if you're drawn to the untold truths hidden behind our city's facades, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because in the next episode, we'll journey to a Soviet paradise in the heart of Europe, where grandeur masks a far darker reality. Thank you for watching. and I'll see you next time.